an unincorporated area of colonial Massachusetts that would later become the town of Framingham. At the time of his birth, the nearest established town was Sudbury, and it was there that his birth was officially recorded. His childhood was one of fear and dread as King Philip's War raged just north of his home. On April 21, 1676, the war finally reached his doorsteps in the Great Sudbury Fight, where many lost their lives. However, upon reaching adulthood, Nathaniel was granted land and a house by his father, Elder John Stone, in what is now the Saxonville section of Framingham, Massachusetts, near the future site of the Saxonville Mills. He would remain there for the rest of his life. On April 25, 1684, Nathaniel married Sarah Waite in Sudbury, and together, they had 9 children. Nathaniel played a prominent role in local governance, and was elected as a selectman of Framingham in the years 1706, 1707, 1715, and 1726, indicating his respected standing in the community. When the proposal arose to incorporate Framingham as a new town in 1698, for whatever reason Nathaniel objected to it. However, his objection meant very little since the proposal went through anyway in 1700. That same year, on June 27, the town of Framingham needed to raise £10 in British currency worth $2,600 today for ammunition for their militia. Nathaniel was assessed 4 shillings, 6 pence for his share of the bill, of which he gladly paid to keep the Indians and such at bay. On June 11, 1711, Nathaniel and his sons Nathaniel, Ebenezer, and John were among 16 signers on a petition sent to Governor Joseph Dudley for permission to buy 4,000 acres of land at Muguncook from the Natick Indians. The petition was unsuccessful, but in 1715, the property was acquired by the trustees of the estate of Governor Edward Hopkins of Connecticut. The property would become the town of Hopkinton in 1724. The Natick tribe, to whom the petitioners addressed their 1711 land request, were part of the group known as the Praying Indians. This term referred to Native Americans who had converted to Christianity under the influence of Puritan missionary John Eliot. Beginning in the mid-17th century, Eliot helped establish 14 praying towns across Massachusetts, settlements like Natick, founded in 1651, where indigenous people were expected to adopt English customs, dress, and language. These towns aimed to separate native converts from their traditional cultures and social structures, replacing them with Puritan religious and civic norms. Residents were often encouraged, or pressured, to take English names and forsake their ancestral beliefs and practices. While many of these towns faded away, some, such as Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Grafton, and Dartmouth, continue to exist today, often carrying the complex legacies of these early colonial efforts. As one of the first settlers in the region, Elder John set about to establish his fortune. His father, Deacon Gregory, had set sail from Ipswich, England in 1635 to create a new life in the New World. Now his son Elder John set out to do the same. All the land in England was already owned for generations by the established gentry, with no room or opportunity for the yeoman class. But here in New England there was land and opportunity aplenty for those willing to work and fight for it. So, John built his home in 1647, and then turned his attention to building the first grist mill in 1659 at the Sudbury River Falls on land that was granted to him by Act of the General Court of Massachusetts. The roots of the Stone family's presence in Framingham can be traced back to May 1656, when Edmund Rice and Peter Noyes surveyed 11 acres of land purchased by John Stone, Nathaniel's father, from the local native inhabitants. This land had previously been the site of a Native American village and fort, underscoring the area's long-standing significance even before English settlement. In addition to this purchase, John Stone was granted 50 more acres by the General Court, situated along the Sudbury River Falls. These lands would become central to the Stone family's legacy, as they included valuable mill rights that remained in the family's possession for nearly 2 centuries. Over time, this property evolved into what became known as the Saxonville Mills, a prominent industrial site in Framingham. John also built a house at Otter Neck near the present-day falls on the Sudbury River near his dam and grist mill. In those days, a grist mill was a valuable commodity for any community. They were usually the first business erected in a new settlement since they ground the farmers' grain, wheat, and corn into flour or meal. And the Sudbury River Falls provided the power to turn the huge water wheels that turned the large grinding wheels. John and Sarah's daughter, Mary Stone, married Henry Coggins in 1730. He would pass away that same year, at which time she married Major Daniel Ward in 1732. During the late 17th and early 18th centuries, Nathaniel's lifetime was marked by a unique mix of Puritan religious ideals, emerging local economies, and increasing political friction with the English crown. Massachusetts had originally been established as a largely self-governing Puritan colony, founded on strict religious principles and communal autonomy. However, as the decades progressed, tensions with England intensified. The Crown grew wary of the colony's independence, and in 1684, the original Massachusetts Bay Charter was revoked. This marked a turning point because the colony was now brought under direct royal control and restructured as a royal province. In 1686, the creation of the Dominion of New England sought to consolidate the New England colonies under a single, crown-appointed governor, an effort that was deeply unpopular among the colonists. The new governance system clashed constantly with the colonial General Court, which was the Massachusetts's elected legislature, who jealously guarded its authority. This dual government structure created continual friction because as the royal governor sought to implement the king's will, the local leaders resisted what they saw as an overreach into their rights and liberties. For settlers like Nathaniel, all descended from Puritan founders, and all landowning and civically engaged, this period of cultural distrust and political uncertainty did not sit well with them. While he may have embraced Puritan values of self-discipline, hard work, and community governance, he also lived through moments of political upheaval, economic opportunity, and evolving identity as the colony moved from religious utopia to imperial possession. These same landowners were now beginning to distance themselves from their motherland, as Britain was known. The seeds of rebellion, sown by the family patriarch Deacon Gregory Stone, were now germinating, taking root and preparing to spring forth from the soil of Massachusetts within just 2 generations. Nathaniel would pass away sometime between June 23 and November of 1732, at the age of 72. Sarah would quickly follow him in death on November 3 of that same year. To date, the location of their burial site remains unknown. In his last will and testament, Nathaniel made careful provisions for Sarah. He bequeathed to her all household goods, a young mare, 2 cows, and the room of her choice in their home. Moreover, he stipulated that she should be provided with food, clothing, medicine, and firewood for the remainder of her life, along with care for her animals. These duties were entrusted to their youngest son, Hezekiah Stone, as a condition of his inheritance. The Sudbury Falls was the site of the family grist mill, built by his father, whose mill rights remained in the family for over 200 years. Nathaniel's second son was Ebenezer Stone, who married Elizabeth Russell. She would give birth to Silas Stone, who fought in the French and Indian War. During the invasion of Canada in the spring of 1757, he avoided being sent because he was married, so was placed on the reserve alarm list. He was assigned to Captain John Coolidge's company at the time. In the Revolutionary War, he would later enlist on May 9, 1777 in Colonel Nathan Hall's 2nd New Hampshire Regiment under General Gates, and was present during British General Burgoyne's surrender on October 17. After the battle, he was marching back to Albany with his regiment when he became ill and died at Lansingburg, New York.